this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. I had an idea yesterday and I've got half an hour to spare, so I thought I might just as well have a go at it and take a video. This came about because Luke Collins showed the contents of the new Paper Craft Society box, and in it had some silhouette stamps, and I'll show you what I mean. I've got one example here. You've got a normal, like an outline stamp, and then it comes with these black stamps, the solid stamps, and you basically can print or stamp the colour after this in one, and you don't need to colour it in with pencils or watercolours or alcohol markers. You just stamp over this. And I thought, well, I can actually make a stamp like that myself. So as an example, I found this flower stamp. I don't know where it's from. I can't link to it below. I've had it for years, but I thought this would be a good example. And I've already just gone ahead and stamped this on some craft foam with StazOn ink. You can probably use normal ink, but I wanted to make sure it's dry when I'm using it now. So I go ahead though, and I've got here just a small piece of card, so this is just a scrap just for the demonstration, and I will turn this into a card at the end, so I can turn this into a 6x4 card. So first thing you need to do is just stamp your stamp as normal. So I'm inking this up just with my normal VersaFine black onyx, making sure I've got ink here. So I just want this as a background, so just stamping it down like this, and I've already missed a bit. Never mind, I can always come in with a fine line afterwards. And I'm not too fast where I'm stamping it because, as I said, I will cut it to size and I don't mind it coming off. I'm wondering whether I'm inking it up properly. So I think I will turn these round a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Do one more here at the bottom. So what I now need to do is I need to cut the foam out. I will quickly do this off camera, so I'm just doing the silhouette. I could do the middle bit here and stamp that separately, but I think I won't bother about that because I'll tell you what, yes, I will cut the circle out, I think, in the middle and do that in a different colour. I might for that purpose have to stamp that again on a separate piece. That might be easier than trying to rescue that bit. So I quickly do that off camera and then I'll show you how we use the stamp. I have cut out my rose here and I've cut out the middle bit, and I've also just quickly prepared offline. If you haven't watched my last video, I showed it in detail there. I put a baby wipe down here. This one's actually this time a damp one. Last time I had a dry one. And I used my ink pads to ink these bits up. I did one lot in red, one in pink. And then I used my Dinkles. This is the chili jam, and this one on the top here is the pink, to just sprinkle a bit on top, and I damp this with water. I put water on there so I can use these now as ink pads. Let me just move this out of the way and I can move this over a little bit. So the important thing now for this is to get this the right way round, and I'm using my removable adhesive. I'll put it away. So, and I'm just, this is the stick it adhesive, I'm just putting a bit on here so I can put it on an acrylic block. And now I've basically got the silhouette stamp. The important thing now is to see where you're stamping. I think this one is a good one to find where you're stamping, which is down here. So I'm just dabbing this into the ink pad here, the homemade ink pad. See if I've got enough ink on here. I think that looks good. I want this sort of watercolour effect anyway. So, and I can now, through the acrylic block, see where I need to stamp it, and I just press it down. Leave it to sit for a moment for the paper to absorb the ink. And there you go. Very easily coloured this in. There is a little bit where it didn't pick up the ink. I don't know if there's anything on my foam. No, I think that's fine. So, yeah, I'll just demonstrate this again. I think I'll do the top one in red as well, and then do the other two in pink. So again, I'm concentrating on this one here. It doesn't have to be perfect. By the way, when I cut it out, I cut it inside the outer lines. I didn't want to cut it on the lines. I didn't want it to go over the lines. Yeah, that's a bit better. Obviously, I could go back with this one, but I think I'm just going into the pink one. Don't mind if I got a bit of red residue on it. So it's just a quick video to demonstrate what I had in my head and testing for myself whether it would work. I do wipe this a little bit though, because I don't want any ink on the rest of the card. Also make sure your acrylic block is clean. I think I've got a little smudge there. Yeah, that's nice too. This up, so basically got a watercolor effect, and this is very good for multiple card making if you have that. I actually was looking for a poinsettia image. I thought this would be good, couldn't find any. Oh, by the way, you do get an imprint of the VersaFine, but that should be okay because it's not water reactive. It should not come off on the next stamp. So yeah, I think this is really nice. I will now cut another little circle, I think, to stamp the inners, maybe with some yellow. I'll have a look. I might even print a few more flowers to fill this in and turn this into a card. So I shall quickly do this off camera. You've seen the technique, and then I will leave this to dry and then turn it into a card. For the dot in the middle, I was a bit lazy. I did not cut this out separately. I just used my hole punch, and it is a bit small, but I've found, by the way, I've got the yellow here on the side. This is just the dinkles, but I found if I squash the foam a bit, I can very easily fill the middle in, and that works okay. So I just wanted to show you this. I think for the background, because I want to tie this in a little bit, I will find a stencil. And I also thought, because I've worked on this format now, whether I should do a DL card for a change. I hardly ever do that. Oh, and by the way, for these other ones here, I mixed the colours a little bit. So I pressed the foam into the pink, then into the red. The first one didn't cover too well, so I actually went over it again. This one is a mix, so don't hesitate to mix the colours. This one actually is very solid, quite pleased with this one. But again, because it's dinkles and it's a little bit of a play, I quite like the mixed look, and it's not perfect. These two spots though that are white, what I will do is I will get a brush out, just a water brush, and I will just paint these in very slightly. I might just as well show you on camera, so make sure you've got a clean brush. I can just actually dab into this and just, oh, this is almost too solid, just go into that a little bit. I need to get some water. I've got some water here. So maybe that is even enough to colour that in. Can you see? So this one I'm spreading out a bit more so it's less obvious that I coloured it in. Yeah, so ignore that what I did there. Don't add any more colour. Just go in with your water brush and just move it about a little bit because you lose the speckled look of it. So, but yeah. So I quickly will finish stamping, and I think I will also might use my heat tool on it quickly because it is a bit damp, and then I'll show you how we do some stenciling in the background. I've got 5 minutes left on my timer. I have picked this leaf stencil and I think I'm going in with a lime punch, but I know I want a very light application, so I'm actually checking whether I've got enough ink on here. No, that's not enough. So what I will do is I will dab off a little bit in the lid, just checking on the side. So I'm just holding this down because I don't want to go over the flowers, but I would like to go to the edges so it actually shows that this is that these are leaves here. I haven't taped it down, that's why I'm holding it firmly. And you can't see this now, I'm just picking up ink from the lid at the moment. And with these stencils that got very fine details, I like to go in the direction of the details rather than going against it. Okay, so I will just do this off camera again. You see what I've done. I'm holding my finger on here so I can actually lift it up and see what the effect is, but I really like this. I've got an edge at the top because the stencil's not that long, so I'll have to check what the actual size of a DL card is. But I'll do that off camera again, cutting this. I'll show you afterwards, or tell you afterwards what size it is. And I quickly finish this. I've just reached my half hour now, but I'll squeeze in another 5 minutes. Here's my finished card. I cut a card base from an A4 sheet, so this is 8 by 8. Well, it's actually a bit smaller because I cut it wonky and had to cut it again on the side. And then I folded it in half. And I was looking for sentiment and found this one. This has got a shadow die, which I had intended to cut in vellum, but couldn't find any vellum, so I just used a piece of matte laminating sheet, which works as well. I was just pressing it down again here, but I think it sticks nicely. As always, I used my two-way zig glue to stick down the sentiment because I know then it won't ooze out, and I did the same on the back of the vellum, basically just where the sentiment was, so I've got hardly any glue showing there. So yeah, and I cut this accordingly to size, a bit slimmer, a bit smaller, but yeah, quite pleased with this card, and I'm quite pleased that it worked for me to make my own silhouette stamps. That was the main idea, and now I need to rush to go to work. If you like this card, you might want to give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that, and I'll see you soon with another video.